You're listening to the IB4E Coaching Podcast.
Brought to you by IB4E Coaching, business coaching for executives, entrepreneurs, and small business professionals. Learn more at ib4e-coaching.com.
Hey, Coach Harlan here. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal week. I'm having a great week, and I'm excited to introduce you to my guest today. Please help me welcome Andrew Bolton.
Thank you.
Andrew Bolton. Absolutely. No, it's good to have you here, sir. Andrew Bolton is the CEO and co-founder of TechRescue LLC, a 24/7 tech support and cybersecurity company serving seniors, small businesses, and families. A Harvard-trained strategist with Wall Street roots, he leads TechRescue's rapid expansion through a human-first, subscription-based model focused on trust, scalability, and profitable growth. Their mission is to deliver unparalleled service, leveraging expertise in customer relationship management and high-tech sales. TechRescue LLC is dedicated to being there for their customers whenever they need help. Andrew, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. And today was one of those days that I realized that why we exist today. So my sales team is in Verona, California, and also in the Carolinas, where we also have our call center. And I got a call from my project manager saying that the entire team got blocked out of HubSpot, one of our CRMs that we utilize. And so we got on a call, we raced over to the website, logged in, doing all the testing. This was a couple hours ago, just doing all the testing. And I was on the phone with our project manager. No, that's not working. Agent 5, Agent 7, I'm like, okay, let's get in touch with these people. So I go on HubSpot, I log in as, the core subscriber, and I'm dealing with the chat bot, the stupid chat bot. And I need to speak to somebody. We understand. We're sorry for the inconvenience. I'm like, I'm writing, great. I need to speak to somebody. 911, emergency. Well, if you would like to speak to somebody directly, then you please go to this link. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to lose my patience here.
Yes.
Because as our system is down and calls come in, we can't pull up we can't see whether or not they're a client or not. Now, obviously, we do have our standard operating procedures where we back data up on hard files, so we're able to keep moving, but this is a multi-million, if not billion-dollar company, and I'm a small fish, but my emergency is my emergency. Like, this may be just a tic-tac to you, but I've got 67 different employees that are locked out of a system in the middle of the day. Like, that's an emergency after a holiday, by the way, because today's Tuesday. Last day was Memorial Day.
Right.
So post-holiday, we have a crash, and I'm getting into an argument with a chatbot, and I finally, after 25 minutes, I'm number 17 in the queue to speak to somebody.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm on the phone. So I'm on the phone getting ready for this podcast. I've got my headpiece in, and I'm talking to project management. I'm talking to one of our representatives in California, and I'm like, I'm on hold. And everybody's laughing at me. I'm like, yeah, no, funny how that is, right?
Wow. And that's a perfect example leading up to what you guys do and the level of service you guys give and why that's so important. So absolutely.
It's just one of those things that you just sit there and you're like, yeah, now I see why. Now I see why.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, I want to deep dive into this stuff, see how you came to this company, what your thoughts are, how you've set it all up and everything. Your customer first, human first, right? Subscription based.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's awesome and excited to dive in more. Before we get started, though, I've got 10 questions that I'd like to ask every one of my guests. Listeners know these are the questions made famous on the TV show Inside the Actor's Studio, where the host James Lipton asks these same questions of his guests from Hollywood TV, film, and stage. And I figure if they're good enough for the Hollywood elite, they're certainly good enough for my guests. So if you're ready, Andrew, 10 questions for you.
To be in the realms of Robert De Niro and Alec Baldwin, shoot.
Absolutely. All right. Question 1, what is your favorite word?
The F word.
All right. What is your least favorite word?
Homework.
What turns you on? Family show. Family show.
Um, hmm. Uh, what turns me on is anyone that can teach me how to bachata.
Okay.
Just saying.
Just
Just throwing it
saying.
out there. Just throwing it out there.
And what turns you off?
Oh, the fastest way to turn the light switch off is just being just being super aggressive. Just super aggressive just turns me off right off the bat. I'm already done. I'm already out. I'm looking for
All
an
right.
Uber.
All right. What sound or noise you love?
V twin Harley all day every
Oh,
day.
there you go. All right. What sound or noise do you hate?
I hate the sound of that. Remember when the internet first came out? There was that high pitched squeal of the phone line when somebody used either the
The
fax or the
modem.
internet.
Yes.
That
Yes.
high pitched squealing, I still have nightmares. I can still remember that sound. It's ear splitting.
Yeah. Yeah. A buddy of mine has that as his ringtone. It's like, why? Why? All right. Andrew,
Masochist.
what is your favorite curse word?
The F word. Listen, there's no better word out there in the English language that covers every race, creed, religion, language. The F word is used from Scotland to Mexico to South America to Alaska to China. Like Chinese say the F word.
It is
It's
universal.
it's a perfect word. You know exactly what that word means at that moment from that
Yep.
person, whatever
Yep.
language,
Yep. Good or bad.
good
Absolutely.
or bad.
Absolutely. All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, that's easy. I wanted to be the guy that blew up buildings, a demolition specialist.
Got it. Okay. Not a terrorist. You wanted to be one of the guys
No,
who
no,
went in and
no,
laid all
no,
the
no, 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 no.
how the
I
buildings
thought
collapse in on themselves.
like when I was about I would say about 11, 12. One of my uncles came up from the Carolinas with a box of like just it almost was if he was preparing for like a suburban war with firecrackers and fireworks. That
Hmm.
was my first real experimenting with M80s and cherry bombs.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, ant hills and lily pads were fair game.
Yep. Boys will be boys. I know.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. What profession would you not like to do?
I give it to these men. These men are probably the most badass of men that ever are. Septic tank cleaners.
Yeah.
I saw that
Necessary, but
on
yeah.
Dirty Jobs.
Dirty jobs. Yep.
Oh, like I understand the oil riggers and the oil fielders have got it tough. I
Right.
understand that, but bro, that's oil and mud. What these dudes
Yes.
do ain't
Yeah.
mud.
No.
It ain't mud.
Absolutely. More power to them. All right. Finally, Andrew, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I've been waiting for you. We need to talk.
We need to talk. Yeah. That sounds more like it. We need to talk. Yeah.
We need to talk. And I'll look at
All right.
God and go, you better bring popcorn. This is going to be a while. This is the good part.
Yeah. There you go. All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you got your start, what kind of brought you to this entrepreneurial um, um, path forward, I guess you'd call it. The idea when you came up with TechRescue, what's behind that and stuff, and your human first approach to that, and that some point we transition into courage and leadership.
All
All
right.
right.
Sounds good.
All right. So listeners will be talking about all that and probably a lot more right after this. So stick with us. And we're back with my guest, Andrew Bolton. Andrew, thank you again for coming on the program. I've been looking forward to our conversation. Um, your journey through from some personal hardships, I guess, and then founding Tech Rescue is inspiring. Can you talk a little bit about that moment that kind of ignited your interest in becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, I had some opportunities to do some entrepreneurial work early on in my career. I was with a tech startup that was servicing the private security and military world by creating a heat index map on an ECN, or an enclosed channel network. That was my first real taste of Boston, Silicon Valley type startup, where we grew really hot, really fast, and we just COVID happened, and it just went downhill from there. And then through those connections on some of our clients, I was able to get another opportunity to build another company with a couple of really interesting individuals from India, China, and um, over in Europe. And unfortunately, with, I know there's a lot of people that can relate to this. Through my divorce, I had to sell everything. I had to liquidate everything. Um, so basically, I left two major companies and starting up, and just to start all over again. And believe it or not, serendipity just happened to walk through the door. It was my father, and he asked, you know, how do you forward an email? And my mother and I looked at him and were like, how do you not know how to forward an email? And he got frustrated, and like my father does, he stomps off a little bit. He goes, I'll just do it myself. And I'm like, Dad, I'll do it. I'll help you. I'll show you. So I came back, and Mom's just looking at me, and she goes, there has to be something. And I'm like, there has to be, right? And we took out our phones and we looked, and there was nothing. And my mother pours herself another cup of coffee, and she goes, well, if you could, how would you do it? And I just sat there, and I'm like, all right, give me a minute. And it took me a little bit to figure out how to come up with somewhat of the framework on how to do it. And then my mother, like any real good Irish Catholic mother from the Queens, is like, all right, show me what you got. And I went, you want me to do this? And she goes, if you don't think you could, I understand. Well, then those are just fighting
Hmm,
words.
exactly.
Those are just fighting words. So I was like, okay, we want to play it that way. All right, fine. And she's been my CFO for about 2.5 years. And
Nice.
we were joking about it. I think it was not too long ago. And I said, this is all your fault, right? I looked at her dead in the eye, my mother, and I went, this
Yep.
is all your fault. You know that, right? All of it. So I don't want to hear complaining. So yeah, that's how it all started. And with my grandmother, she was one of those women that really got into genealogy. She
Okay.
loved discovering everything about our family. So when social media became, readily accessible, she was one of these proponents that she knew more about MySpace than I think even the people who designed it did,
Wow.
because she utilized MySpace to get in touch with family and track that down. So as she was
Nice.
going, she was sending out requests. She was asking me and my mom how to send messages, how to friend request, how to do all these things. And she was copying all the information from the profiles of my relatives in Canada, in Ireland, in
Wow.
Scotland, because the internet allowed her to gain
Yep.
access to the entire world. The way that she used to do it was, when she traveled, she would go to a local library and try
Hmm.
to find death records and birth certificates.
Yeah.
That's that was her kick. That's what she
Right.
did. But now with the internet, she didn't have to do that. She had everything at her fingertips, which is also where we became her tech support.
Yeah. And so was that kind of the impetus for Tech Rescue?
That was the highway in which it was being built on. And then finally the catalyst moment was Dad, and we just were like, there's gotta be something. And sure enough, there really wasn't. Yes, we have competitors like AARP and
Mhm.
AAA and Quincy Labs, but they only offer some services, 9 to 5s, and in the Southwest Texas, Houston regions, a little bit of Arizona, Phoenix area. And what a lot of these companies, like very much like our CRM system, do is
Mhm.
They offer libraries and links and YouTube videos and,
Right.
press one for English. And then you have to get through the maze to get to somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have a very, very, very big problem with a company that's worth billions of dollars, billions with a B, and
Yeah.
you can't staff it with people that got questions. Really?
Well, and what drives me crazy is you get on the website and you try to do a search and it says not found. And then the very next page you scroll to, there's the word, the keyword you were looking for. Their
Yeah.
search doesn't even work on the stuff that they have in there. So it's impossible to find things.
So one of the things that we've discovered in our average between 175 to, like, right now we're relatively small and we're growing, so we're only like 170 to 315 calls a day depending on volumes and things like that. Like the Memorial Day weekend, we got a lot of calls. We were like in the 500 range this weekend because
Mm.
of Bluetooth connectivity. The more complicated a house gets, where like you're going to have the system
Oh, yeah.
outside run with the system inside, and we're going to have the central computer of the house where we're going to control the fan in the kitchen, the fan in the living room, the fan out in on the deck. You make it more complicated, you're just asking for us. You're just begging for us to be in your life. Anyway, those calls were spiked like in the 500 ranges, starting Saturday, Sunday, and Monday it dropped off dramatically around like one-ish. One-ish, we only got about like from like 1 to 5, we only got like 50 calls, which I'm not surprised at because
Right.
everybody's at a barbecue.
Yeah.
What we discovered was that companies like Facebook are purposely moving the settings around and are purposely making it harder for you to turn off the setting applications. They're
Yeah.
purposely moving it. And we've documented this from our
Yeah.
calls from, what are we in, going in June? So like our calls from like February, we started noticing this. So from there, we have accounted, at least 100 different calls that are asking,
Wow.
why can't I turn off my notifications on Facebook? It's not where it used to be. That was the key word, used to be.
Where it used to be. Yeah.
Because one of the things that our your audience knows is that, well, specifically with us men, we're creatures of habit.
Mhm.
If we know where something is, we can do it blindfolded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't clean up my desk. I know where everything is. Right.
So when Facebook changed its settings, that's when we got a spike
Wow.
and we had to look at what was going on. And then all of a sudden we realized that Facebook had changed its settings and its account setting modules.
Wow.
And we noticed it with our male clients. We noticed it with our male customers. Now they were getting text messages, they were getting notifications. I didn't want to get I the one phone call I love is, I don't care about Brian's dog. Why am I still getting messages about
Right.
Brian's dog?
Right.
Well, I listened to it. I'm laughing hysterically. I'm like, I don't know who Brian is, but I can understand why you getting messages about the dog and updates about the dog would annoy you.
Yep.
But when he said, he goes, I never had this problem before. Now I do. All right.
Right.
So this was like one of like the first of like 10, 20 calls that we got this. And then that's when I noticed, all right, there's like a pattern to this. So I sent an email to our call center and I said, all right, be on the lookout for these particular type of questions and these particular things. I have a theory and I want to prove it. And my project manager said, okay, we'll make a note in the
Nice.
call sheet, on the electronic call sheet, that is this a Facebook question, and Facebook, is this a settings question?
Mm.
And sure enough, we started noticing the pattern and we looked into it. And one of our consultants that we go to is a specialist in all of these things, and he helps design
Nice.
some of these little things. He goes, "Yeah, this is what happened." And I went, "Ah."
Wow. Wow.
So they're playing
That is
games
awesome.
behind our backs.
Oh, yeah, they are. Absolutely, they are. Well, you see that when you download an app, it wants access to all these different things. You almost have to say yes to them and then try to remember to go back and turn all those
Yeah,
the access off. And sometimes it's impossible to find out how to turn these things off.
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would tell all of our clients is just be mindful of all the apps that you have downloaded on your phone. Every once in a while, go through your phone. This is to you in the audience. Go through your
Mhm.
phone. If you're noticing things are acting a little weird, Start looking for apps that make absolutely no sense, like Boggle or Fishing or
Mhm.
Angry Birds or Wordle. If you did not
Yeah.
download these things yourself, get rid of them on your phone.
They come with the phone when you get a new phone, and it's impossible to find out how to turn those things off. Bixby, I have Bixby on my phone. I have no idea what that is, and I never use it, but there's no way to get it off of there.
Well, Bixby is a setting system to a Samsung. You have a Samsung, right?
Yes. Yep.
So this is the integrated system within Samsung. You cannot get rid of that. It's part of their
Mm.
operating systems. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of it.
Oh,
I know.
well, I
I
know.
know.
There's a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So, how big is your team?
So the team is currently with direct and indirect employees about 67 and we're growing. One of the major problems that I have as a business owner is I can't find qualified people to get on the phones and be part of our team. I wanted to promote two people actually, and I can't with the economy the way it is right now. We just don't think it's the great time to be expanding into our European market. That was originally our plan for 2025. But getting back to the candidates, my biggest gripe with America and in our country right now is that any kid graduated high school or college between the year 2020, 2019, really, and 2024, every last one of you needs to go back to school. Every last one of you, all of you. You need to go 5 years back because you have no applicable skills, you have no knowledge, and you have no interpersonal working skills whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
say this to all of you people, graduated kids from high school, class of 19 to college 2024, or college kids of 2020. You did not learn anything online with your teachers. I know you didn't because I walked in on some of you. I walked in on some of you, some of my friends and their kids. You were playing games, you were playing video games while your lecture was going on. There was an app where it moved your mouse on the side
Yes.
to
Yep.
make sure that you were positive. Did any of you take the SATs? No. Did any of you take the ACTs? No. What would be this is my challenge to the Board of Education now, to any town, to any board. Throw them the standard aptitude test. Throw every one of those kids that graduated from 2019 to 2024 to 2025 the standard high school aptitude test.
Yep.
I can't use any of you.
Yeah.
And it's blowing my mind that every resume that we get from this shit this timeline is
Yeah.
useless.
Yeah.
we so what we really do, we don't do really tech support. Yes, we are tech support, but really what we are is human support.
Right.
So in our standard operating procedure manual, in big red letters on page 2 after the cover sheet, is every call is someone's most important person.
Yes.
Your wife, your mother, that person is important to you. You subscribe to our monthly or yearly subscription because you care about them.
Yeah.
You would want me as a business to care about them as much as you do.
Yeah.
Well, when you get a kid on the phone going, ugh, what do you want?
Yeah. Yeah. That attitude. Yes.
Are you call?
I've,
I literally, and I swear on my mother,
yeah.
one of our applicants, we threw a thing around. We did so we have a process. It's an email, it's a resume lookup, a quick phone call, a quick phone screen, and then I throw you into the hot seat. I don't
Nice.
believe so. One of the things we can get into leaderships, one of the things that I don't believe is 9 interview processes. I can
No.
tell right away whether you're for us or not. I don't need
Yep.
9 meetings
Yep.
to determine this. This isn't Ernst and Young or Blackstone.
Right.
These guys want to have 13 meetings. All right, fine, cool. That's not us. So one of the girls, one of the young people that we interviewed, we had a what we call a no-fly zone. So somebody that called again, and called again. She got on the phone and goes, "Oh, it's you again? Really? What now?
Ouch. Hmm.
The very first lesson I learned at Harvard in my grad school was how you treat your people and your customer is how they treat your bottom line.
Yes. Yes.
That is, I
Yeah. Yeah. But we've all had those kind of experiences, where somebody in tech support is getting frustrated with me. It's like, I'm calling you for help and you're getting frustrated with me. And like I said, the big bold words, every customer that
every
calls
call
in
is somebody's
is
most
somebody's
important
most
person.
important person. And what they're calling about is the most important thing to them right then. You don't make
So,
fun of them because they can't find something, right? You don't get
so we call it,
exasperated because they can't do it.
so I call these hot calls. So when I do an interview with somebody, one of the things I ask them is, what is your temperament like throughout the day? How do you deal with stress? How do you deal with, how do you deal with anger? How do you deal with frustration? How do you deal with, confusion? Because every call, and this is part of our training, every call is a hot call. Somebody's angry, frustrated, confused, they're disoriented, or they're just lost. And they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do, but they know that if they call this number, they're going to get somebody on the phone that's going to help them. That's all they really care about. I pick up the phone, I will get tech rescue, I will get somebody on the phone. That's our whole premise. So
Exactly.
when we have somebody call in, like your mother, and she's frustrated that she can't get this thing to work, this thing that my grandkids bought me is broken. All right, let's take a look.
Yep. Yep.
Well, she's frustrated. So
Sure.
one of the first things that psychologists tell us is that when we address somebody by their first name or last name, we already drop the degree by 10, right? So,
Mhm.
Mr. Anderson, thank you for calling Tech Rescue. It's so good to have you again. What can we do for you today? Oh, this thing's not working. All right, let's take a look.
Yeah.
When it, and all of a sudden now you start asking questions, you get more information, and when you say, "Don't worry, you got Tech Rescue on the phone. We're here. We're gonna help. This is what you're here for." It's amazing how smoother the conversation goes.
No,
What we've
no doubt.
noticed in our inception of the company is that people just want to connect.
Mhm. Yeah.
With this device, this little thing here that slides into your back pocket that's covered in Cheeto dust and makeup and everything else, this little thing right here has got more CPU power than the lunar landing NASA team
Right.
in Florida when Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. That whole entire building is less than this.
And it's a lifeline for a lot of people,
Yes.
especially if the grandparents are retired, they're down in Florida, they're talking to their grandkids up north. That's their lifeline. And if they can't get in touch with them, if they can't share pictures, if they can't see, the kids recital at school, that's huge. That's huge.
So you want me to really rock your world a little bit?
Do it.
So last year, over 20% of the GDP in the holiday season shopping was bought by seniors 65 and older. You know what they bought? Wearable technology and video games.
Really.
So the past 3 months in our company, I've had to hire a video game analyst. And what we have been getting calls about are seniors on video games. Now, what they've done is Walmart has, you could get a 65-inch plasma screen TV for like 383, a PS4 for like less than a PS5 for less than 500, $600, and a bunch of games. And what we've noticed is the clients who are calling in are playing video games with their grandchildren.
Wow.
So
Nice.
the days of, the kids going to the park and going out for ice cream, really those days are done. Those days are not happening because kids have Nintendo Switch, they have the PSP, they have their phones, they have their iPads. They are technically involved heavily. So
Mhm.
what we've noticed, and the calls have come in, are seniors, our our largest demographic client, is buying uh NBA 2K, they're buying MLB, they're buying FIFA, and they're buying Minecraft, they're buying Star Wars, The Old Republic, they're subscribing
Okay.
online and they're getting involved in Fortnite. We are seeing a very different senior. We are seeing
Wow.
somebody that is logging on to Microsoft, to PlayStation, and finding their grandkids after work and playing with their grandkids online.
Wow. Wow.
The other thing that we've noticed
Hmm.
is we have a very, very, very dating active uh, senior community in this country.
Okay.
So we've gotten questions about Tinder and Bumble and Facebook dating, and one call that came into me from our project manager, because it was a sensitive topic, was sharing videos and pictures on WhatsApp. Now, for any of
Hmm.
you listeners who are probably your and my age, that may not seem like anything, but when you understand that WhatsApp is encrypted, which means that nobody can get in and out of that conversation, and on WhatsApp, next to that green little checkbox that sends the message, above that is a little one. And you're wondering, what is that little one? Well, that little one is a safety switch. So if you press that and send a video or send a picture of, let's say, a sunset or
Hmm.
a mountain, that person will never see that sunset ever again.
Wow.
It's a one-time video. And
One time. Okay.
so, for legal reasons, obviously, and obviously for personal reasons,
Yep.
my entire team did not want to take this on. And I said, all right, fine, send me over the account information and I'll take care of it. So from my
Interesting.
office computer, anyway, my laptop and computers, I can do the same process as my team. So I called the gentleman and I said, "This is Andrew Bolton, the CEO of the company. It's been brought to my attention that you have a problem that hopefully I can solve." And he goes, "Well, I didn't think it'd go this far." And I said, "No, no, no, it's perfectly fine. Um, these matters are a little bit more sensitive for the staff, and it's my responsibility. And let me see if I can't help you here." So we gain access. I say, "You see this picture of your dog? This is a great example of how we can do this." So I selected the picture of the dog and I said, "Well, you on WhatsApp, you can send it to yourself to test. So you can send it to your number." And we did. And he goes, "Oh, okay." I said, "So if we take this methodology and apply it to other things, same principle." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And I said, "By chance," and I looked at the thing. I said, "By chance, are you a resident of the state of Florida?" He goes, "No, I'm a resident of the state of Oregon, but I move back and forth to Florida." I said, "This is just a personal question. This is nothing to do with anything. But by chance, you have a golf cart and a koozie on top?" He goes, "Yeah. What? Why would you ask?" And I went, "No reason.
No
I
reason.
No reason." Now, when I got done with the conversation, I had this conversation with my project managers, and I explained the question. She goes, "Oh, did you ask what color the ball was on top of the golf cart?" I said, "No, no, I didn't ask what his color was. It's none of my business, and nor do I
Nope.
want to know, because
Don't ask, don't tell.
that's exactly right. We're just gonna skate on. We're just gonna skate on past that.
Yep.
Pay no attention
Next.
to the man behind the curtain."
Exactly. So you're
So we have
you
a
guys run
very,
24/7.
very interesting
Eclectic
demographic.
mix of customers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they probably come up with problems that you guys have never even thought of, right? To where you almost have to put your heads together and go, how do we do this?
Well, the one question I got asked is, I can't connect my microwave,
Ah, okay.
to which I was shocked and I went, "Wait, we're making smart microwaves now?" And sure enough, GE has a smart microwave that's Bluetooth. And I went,
Wow.
"Can I use this platform for a second? Listen, companies. I love the fact that we're making things that my business is going to be talking about. The oven, the refrigerator, the toaster, the microwave, the blender, the food processor. Why? Why? Hear me out. Even if you have a microwave that's connected to our super, super smartphone, unless you've got the robot from the Jetsons that can take something out of the refrigerator, put it in the microwave, what are you turning the microwave on for?
Yeah.
If there's nothing in the microwave, well, I'll just leave it in the microwave and walk away. Okay, it's called crock pot.
Mm-hmm.
You left it in the microwave. Okay,
All day long. And then I
all
want to
day
turn it on
long.
so it'll be hot when I get home. Yeah.
So is the styrofoam still on? I mean, is the tinfoil still on the meat or the bird? Is the saran wrap still on? You're telling me that you walked out of the house before you went to work, unwrapped the turkey, unwrapped the chicken in the cellophane, the styrofoam, the tinfoil, and you left a raw piece of meat in the microwave, convection oven, whatever you want to call it. You left a raw piece of meat for 10 and a half hours in a microwave that you're now going to turn on from work, and it's going to be hot and ready when you get home. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I hate to say it, but salmonella might be waiting for you when you get back too.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, after you get off the call with me, call 911.
Like the companies, guys, listen,
Yeah.
we don't need to make everything smart. Not everything needs to be connected to a Bluetooth. A coffee cup doesn't need to be smart, guys. Like
No.
it's getting a little ridiculous. I'm the tech company, and I'm saying maybe we should stop making everything talk to one another. We don't need it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That
So
was
your
my
team works around the clock. You've got 60 some odd employees working around the clock, right?
We're 24
So,
hours. We run a 3-shift rotation for 24 hours.
wow. How do you, I mean, a lot of businesses trying to build a culture in just a regular 9 to 5 company is tough. What challenges have you guys come up against in building their team culture, and how have you worked through some of those issues?
Well, the main biggest issue that we had to go through was the empathy aspect of it.
Okay.
We can get employees, we can fill seats, but the question that I the question I ask in response to that is, what type of person do you want talking to your mom? What type of conversation do you want to have on the phone with your father? When your father calls, American Express or JP Morgan, because there's an issue on the card. What type of person do you want to have on the other end of the phone? That's been the hardest part. So the shifts and the culture mostly stem from the overall brand and the messaging that we have. If you cannot get behind the idea that what we're trying to do is make people's lives just a smidge better every day by just taking, we're almost the bottom end of the firing range, really. We take the brunt of the heat.
Mm.
So if that's something that you can't do, then this isn't the job for you. I will say this though. If you are looking for salespeople that can take heat and flip it, my people are probably the very best at it because they get batting practice all day long. They get somebody coming in hot and angry and they leave smiling and saying thank you. If I was to accept all the gingerbread, chocolate chip, cakes, cookies, breads, pastels, cookies, if I was to accept the pies, let alone from the state of Ohio, I think I could start a bakery out of my garage. The amount of times, like at the end of, oh my
Yep.
God, thank you so much. I baked these lemon zests. I'd love to send you some. No, unfortunately, man, we can't accept. If I was to get all the things that were going to get sent to
Right.
us, I'd have a bakery out of my garage
Wow.
and I'd never need to bake. Never.
Yep. All the grandmas fixing you up with cookies and pies and all that stuff.
And by the way, for nanos out there, oatmeal cookies.
There you
Oh,
go.
I love.
Soft,
Well, you know what
soft,
it is? It's the
warm oatmeal
sweetness of
cookies.
it's the sweetness of the raisin. You get that complex of the oats and the oatmeal, and then if somebody's really clever, they put like that little bit of spicy cinnamon in the mix.
Yeah. Little cinnamon. Yep.
It just gives it a little snap to it. Ooh,
All right. You're making me hungry, dude. All
I
right. So
can't help it.
I know. Looking ahead, um, what's your vision for Tech Rescue in the next, say, 3 to 5 years, and how do you plan to continue making a positive impact?
So where we see ourselves is where we see technology. Where we see technology is wearable technology. We've heard rumors and we've been trying to find out the truth behind it between Samsung, Garmin, and Apple, where there will be this microscopic needle that is embedded in the device that will just basically abrase your skin every now and then,
Okay.
and it will read your blood sugar. That
Okay.
information connected to um your medical provider, whether that's United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, Aetna, that information will be then tied to your doctor, and your doctor
Okay.
will be able to pull up. You've had, blood sugar spikes on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. What's going on here on a regular basis? Oh, I go bowling and I have a couple of beers. Well, Brian, you're diabetic. We can't be having you, go through 4 beers, 3 days a week. We can't be having that. Look at your spikes. That will be in your watch. And where we will be
Nice.
is helping you set that up. Where
Nice.
we also see technology in the next 5 or so years is I really don't like the conversation about AI and how evil it is and how bad it is. We don't use AI. We don't have
Right.
bots. We don't have chat bots. We don't have call bots. We don't have anybody. We are real people.
Nice.
But that genie is out of the bottle. So let's stop
Mhm.
talking about putting it back. Where we see technology is AI is going to be incorporated into everything. Now, the important thing to remember about AI is it's a 2 by 2 matrix, right? It's a box. So what you
Mhm.
put in is what you get out. So if
Right.
you put in random nonsense and garbage and questions and answers and things like that, you're going to get a jambalaya of just garbage out.
Yep.
When AI is used proficiently, right? So a lot of the educators that I've listened to on podcasts and read in
Mhm.
newspapers and magazines are talking about how their kids are cheating with AI. Well, instead of trying to ban AI, why don't you use it to your advantage, right? So the kids already will get the questions right. But why don't you ask them to ask questions that expand their knowledge, right?
Right.
Learn to use that technology in a more profound way, right? Now that we have the answers easily accessible to us, you still don't understand the question. So start
Yes.
creating questions that will allow the AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you as the instructor. Because these kids are going
Nice.
to go back home or sit in the cafeteria, open up their tablet, open up their laptop, and they're going to do their homework in no time at all. But
Mhm.
if you know that already, what are you going to do differently that makes them think a little bit differently? It's like a chisel.
Nice.
It's like having parchment paper and a quill pen. Now we have laptops.
Right.
Well, yeah, somebody can crank out a book a lot faster than with a quill and ink. Doesn't mean the process is any different. The creative
Yeah.
mindset, the creative
Yep.
storytelling, the character arch, all these things still have to take place.
Yep.
Just the tools have made it easier. Where we see technology is with AI, where we see it is with virtual reality. Virtual reality is embedded in medical field research, in medical
Mhm.
field technology, in nuclear power science, in
Nice.
engineering. Guys are putting on masks and learning how to build a very complex piece of equipment for submarines up in Norfolk before they even touch a weld and a stick.
Yeah.
We are using technology differently, so we see the future being more evolved with technology. And with that
Nice.
being said, we're branching out into video games because that's a very hot market and it's
Yep.
expanding even into our market segment, which is 65 plus and small businesses. Um, we are seeing where education is going to be utilized in a much different way.
Good.
Seniors are much more active, they're much more adaptive, they're much more mobile. And there is an aspect of our market that I think is going to be huge for us in the domestic market, which is telemedicine. Now,
Ooh. Yes. Yep.
for a lot of people's information, I gave Coach some of the statistics that we work
Mhm.
with ahead of today's call. We estimate from the US Census Bureau that there's about 75 to about 90, excuse me, 90 Americans 90 million Americans that are 65 and older. That's documented and undocumented. These people exist, whether we like it or not.
Yep.
So if we were to take the average of about 90 million Americans, 14% of those people do not have access to any health whatsoever.
Mhm.
They're bedridden, they have no help with technology, and they have nobody checking in on them. Tech Rescue is here that they can call us, set up their telehealth portal, whether through
Nice.
their union or their retirement package or their unemployment or Medicare, Medicaid. We can set that up. We are HIPAA compliant. Our call center is HIPAA
Nice.
compliant. So you call us up, you say that you need help like this. We will set up your portal for your healthcare, and then we find out through your help, we'll get to your doctor, we'll set up that portal, and then we can actually help set up an appointment and get an Uber. You can set up your Uber from your tablet, your phone, or your smartphone. We can do that for you. So we can call you an Uber, schedule an appointment, get you to a doctor, get you back home, and then on top of that, through your portal, we can help you get your prescriptions delivered to your mailbox, to your door. We can do all of these things currently right now.
Nice.
When we get this ball rolling in terms of the new healthcare systems and within 5 to 7 years, I can't imagine what the future might be like
Wow.
because
That
there
is awesome.
because there are people out there that need help and nobody's helping them because they don't know they exist, and that's the problem. Because they're not able to connect to the world, we don't know that there's a problem.
Yeah.
The first step in fixing a problem is identifying there is one.
Yep.
And one of the
Exactly.
problems is there's 14% of our population does not have access of any kind, whether they have healthcare or not, to help. And we're here to tell you, you can get help. We're here to help you. Yes, we are a technology company, but more importantly, we're a human company.
The human company. Exactly. Very cool. Very cool. I can see that coming. I can absolutely see that coming. And that's going to be nice.
I'm
Very cool.
passionate about this because my grandmother was once in a situation where she was having a problem with with her respirator, and nobody could pick up the phone.
Mm.
So what does she do? She calls us. I fly about 100 miles an hour through street traffic to get to her, pick her up, damn near carry her myself down the flight of stairs, down to Valley Hospital, which is
Wow.
no more than about 15, 20 minutes. At 105 miles an hour, it's 12.
Wow.
My point being is that when you care about somebody like that and you realize that these people in your life are not taken care of, it makes you angry.
Absolutely.
So we put a system in place where we can help with almost damn near anything.
Nice.
If you can get to us, we can get to you anywhere in the world.
Good job. Love this. And it's so necessary. I'm glad you guys are doing this. And I'd like I said, I just see it expanding because the elderly base is expanding. So yeah, there's always going to be the need out there. Um, Courage. We talk about courage on the podcast.
Mhm.
The courage. Where did you find the courage to leave your job to start your own business? Where did you find the courage to write the book, to be the keynote speaker? How about you? Where did you find the courage to decide I'm going to launch this? I know you said it's your mom's fault. Maybe I should be asking her, but where did you find the courage to step out and say, there's a need and I'm going to fill it?
Um, I don't know if I had the courage to do it. I was angry. I was curious and angry enough to do it, and I had a really good teammate that, in our own weird dynamic way, pushed me. Um, I'm very competitive, and my mother knows that. So when the moment came, she pushed me in the direction she knows how to. She challenged me, and I've never been one to shy away from a challenge. So we took it head on. Believe it or not, she's the one with the courage. She set this ball in motion in a way, and there have been some moments, $127,000 in debt, in credit card debt before we started. The calls were coming in, the
Oh yeah.
letters were coming in. We got a sticky note on our on one of the windows. Um, there were some moments, and it's not like you could leave the office and be like, "Whew, that was a rough one." No,
No.
dinner's in 20 minutes downstairs with the same person that was chewing your ass out 15 minutes ago for a
Yep.
bill on one of the credit cards that's like over $35,000 with a minimum payment of like 19-20%.
Wow.
Yeah. I just got chewed out for 15 straight minutes with a woman who's got a vein bulging out of her neck and the side of her head,
Yep.
screaming at the top of her lungs, and now I have to sit next to her at dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But the
you're
resilience, your resilience to go through all the things you've gone through and go through this in order to start this company up. That's that to me, that's courageous. A lot of people would have just said, no, I can't do this.
oh, stupidity runs in my blood a little bit, so I say this to anybody that's going to do an entrepreneur thing, anything with entrepreneurship. You've got to believe in this more than you believe in anything else. I mean, you've got to believe in it, because when I say that there are moments that put me to the test, there have been moments that put me to the test. I've gone through about a gallon and a half of Pepto-Bismol in within a year. Sleepless nights, sweats, panic attacks. Um, I think I've lied to about every damn bank there is in the country. Um, just bold lies, just blatant flat lying, just lying my teeth
Yep.
off. Yeah, like I said, we sent that in the mail. We sent it in the mail like a week ago, right? Um, so you got to believe. You have
Yep.
got to believe in this, because if you don't, you're not going to make it. And the
Yep.
other thing too is you got to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed with your business. And I mean everything in it, from the pennies on the dollar to the competition in your field. You need to be obsessed, because if you're not, the scariest thought in the world is that there's somebody obsessed about you who's looking to come for you. That is
Yep.
even scarier. So the question I have to any entrepreneur is, do you want to be the predator or do you want to be the prey? Because
Yep.
it's one or two. In the game of business, there's one or two people. There's the hunter or the hunted. And which one are you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. Last question. Leadership. What do you look for in a leader?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I've worked for some really good guys, and I've worked for some really bad guys. And I say guys in a more general sense. I know we're in an
Yeah.
age of all this. Um, I've worked for micromanagers, and I said to myself, I was never going to be a micromanager. I never, because I was in sales. So we would have our sales meeting, and then we'd have a one-on-one. And Andrew, you got to approve on this, you got to approve on that, you got to approve on that. Okay, cool. I'll work on it. No more than 45 minutes later, I've got my, director of sales standing over me, now pulling up a chair to sit with me for over 40 minutes. And I'm looking over him, waiting for the dials. And he's just looking at me. It's a 15-second delay, as you're waiting for the dials, until we
Mhm.
invented, the automated dialers,
Right. Right.
that just keep it going. But you'd be there on the phone for like 15 seconds, just staring at this guy going, I'm like, don't you have anything else to do? Like, don't like you have like other people to like supervise? Don't you have like other like work to do? So I never wanted to be that guy. The best advice I ever got was from one of my board of directors, who said, if you're gonna hire people that are passionate about what they do, they're good at what they do, and they believe in what you're doing. If they say that that's cool, or they like that and they're good at what they do and their numbers back it up, pay them. Because as the CEO or owner of a company, you can't do everything. You cannot be handling customers, making phone calls, planning out the marketing schedule, setting up appointments. So this week is podcasts, and I have two TV spots, and we have closings, on a few of
Nice.
these, contracts that we've been working on. As a one-man operation, I can't do any of this. I
Yeah.
can't do that stuff. So as a leader, there's going to be one or two things that you're going to find out. Either A, you're going to be the guy that does it all, then hey, more power to you. Or B, you're going to have to give up control and it's going to suck and it's going to give you nightmares. But guess what? Why did you hire them in the first place?
Right. Yeah. You hire them for their skills, use them. And there are going to be some stumbles. There are going to be some people who fall down, but you know what? That's how they learn. And you have to be comfortable enough to allow them to learn. And then you can start giving more, delegating more.
As a business owner, I'll say this to anybody that's scared of handing over some power to other people. The amount of time you save yourself, you buy back almost an entire day.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. If you had a day off as a business owner, if you had a day off, what would you do with your day off? Oh, I'd be doing stuff in the business. Okay, what would you be doing? Hand it off to somebody. Now what? Well, I'd be doing this. All right, you gave that to somebody. Now what? Well, I do that. Give it to somebody else. Now what? A lot of the reasons
Yeah.
why I think a lot of owners and executives do not delegate power and responsibilities is one, trust issues and some insecurities, which I
Mhm.
personally say you got to get rid of those. If you're going to be in
Yeah.
business, you can't do everything. Or number two, a lot of them, what I think, me personally, is they don't know what to do with their lives. If they let go of all
Yeah.
that responsibility, they don't have any idea what
Yeah.
is next.
Well, and it's a significance issue too. A lot of them, it's like if they can do all this without me, there's no reason for me, and this is my business. They need me. It's like they don't need you to be hands-on. They need you around. They need you visible. They need to be able to get in touch with you, but you don't have to be the one doing the work. Somebody else can do the work.
I mean, if you look at any movie or any TV show, if you're the type of guy that likes National Geographic or Discovery, right? When they do these big things on the USS Enterprise, USS Intrepid, the Bush, these aircraft carriers that are over 5,000 men and women deep,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
The captain is on the bridge.
Yeah.
He's not in the pilot's chair getting launched off
Right.
a deck at 200 miles an hour. He's
Right.
also not the flight crew manager that's taxiing planes. He's not the operations manager that's lifting planes out of the bay or the mechanics director that's
Right.
which helicopter is getting rotated in, which one needs the captain is on the ship. And guess
Mhm.
what? Morning check-in, engine, operations, logistics, cook, the galley, engine. Like we go through the list. Same thing here.
Mhm.
Every week I go through the list. All department heads check in. What are we doing? Where's our plan of action? What's our call to action? What's our measurable steps that we have to follow in order to
Right.
collect the goal and achieve it? Same
Yeah.
principle.
And what barrier do you need me to remove? Right.
Exactly.
Because I think that as leaders, that's what we should be doing is removing anything that's going to prohibit them from being successful.
The other thing too is that I say, and I've learned this is no idea is a bad idea because you didn't have the idea.
Right.
And when I first started the company, I listened to different pitches from consultants and things like that, and I brushed it off. It's not what I want. It's not what I want. It's not what I want. You're gonna find out it's not about what you want, it's what the market tells you.
Yeah.
That was a big
Yeah.
thing. The market dictates, you don't.
Wow.
And when you finally accept that and you start listening to people that start sounding a lot like the market, you're like, okay, there's something here. Because I listen to the market and they have the same words. So what do you know that I don't know? And that's the
Yeah.
big one.
Yep.
Is I tell all my people, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what you don't tell me.
Right.
So I have an open policy. Tell me everything and we can deal with it later. I don't play the blame game when the house is on fire. When the fire
No.
department leaves, that's when I'll take the belt off and that's when we're going to have a spanking. When the fire department leaves.
Yep.
Because guess
Yep.
what? You arguing as an owner, as a CEO, you arguing when the problem is on fire, that doesn't do anything.
No. Doesn't help at all.
No. Get the fire put out and then you can deliver the butt whoopings.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a
Awesome.
good butt. I've gotten shoot out. I've gotten shootout.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm still here.
I'm walking,
Yep,
talking.
exactly. Andrew, this has been awesome. Thank you
Thank you for
for all
having
this,
me.
man. This has been great. If people want to learn more about Rescue, how can they do that? What's your website?
You can go to www.techrescue.io, or you can call us anytime you want. Christmas, Super Bowl, World Cup, because nobody watches the World Cup in America. 855-250-8586. And you can get a real person on the phone, from your printer to your modem to your Bluetooth to your password to your WhatsApp picture messages to the bingo group that, really doesn't
Yeah,
want to see a mountain, but you're inclined to show them a mountain.
exactly.
We handle it all. We
Awesome.
handle it all.
And on the website, can they get information on the
Oh
subscriptions?
yeah, all of our
Okay.
social media is up there. We've got a great marketing team. I got a great bunch of people that put together some really interesting stuff and clever, catchy, stuff. So please check out our YouTube channel, check out our Instagram, Facebook, our website. All of it's on the website. You can go from there.
All right. And are you looking to hire more people? And if so, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can. We're always looking to hire. If you're looking to get more into the call center, somebody with sociology or a psychology, humanities study background. Um, the reason why I looked at those particular backgrounds is because when I pulled our entire group of really good sales agents, that was the backgrounds that a lot of them had, were from
Nice.
universities that had sociology backgrounds, psychology backgrounds. Um, there's a little bit more of a human side to it.
Yeah.
Yes, can a great salesman get on the phone? Yeah, but that's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
Our sale is kind of like the best burger spot you ever had, right? You may not know the name of it, but you know where it is and you tell
Oh, yeah.
everybody about it.
Yep.
And then on your second and third, then you're posting about it, you're tweeting about it. You bought the t-shirt, you got the hat. We are that company that you're not going to realize you really need until your mother says, "Oh, I just called Tech Rescue." Well, what is
Yeah.
Tech Rescue? Or they get the bill. That's usually the one. We had a son whose mom is in a retirement home, a lovely facility. I know the place very well. And, as any diligent, son or daughter is going through the bill, and you're like, $12,000 a month. What are we spending? And you go through the bill. And I got a call. My mother's a client here, and the call came to me, and I heard it. She goes, "You don't touch them. Like, I need them." And he's like, "Well, what?" You hear it on the phone.
Yeah.
They're arguing. Like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Well, I call them, and they help." And like, "Well, what do they do?" They're like, "Well, what do you mean they do? They do everything." We're that company.
Nice.
So you're not really gonna see it on the front end, but
Yeah.
I promise you, tell your mother you're getting rid of them and see what happens.
Yeah. That's
Have you ever
awesome.
tried, have you ever tried to cancel your mother's subscriptions to the public library?
Oh, yeah. No,
Ain't
you'll
gonna
lose an
happen.
arm. Yeah.
Ain't gonna
You
happen.
lose an arm. I know. Yeah. Awesome. Andrew,
So
thank you so much, man.
thank you for having me.
This has been awesome. And I will have all the links down in the show notes. Check these guys out because even you think you know everything about everything. There's going to come a time where you're going to need some help with something. And these guys will be there to help you.
We deal with laundromats, pizzerias, food carts,
Yeah.
small businesses. Believe
Small
it or not,
businesses. Absolutely.
as have you seen the statistics? Almost 70% of American businesses do not have an internal IT support. They can't
Yeah.
afford Geek Squad, they can't afford the big box stuff, and even if they could, some of them are not even open. If you're running a bodega, when are you going to be able to get the computer and the
Right.
security camera system linked up? Well, you got the one girl at the front checking people out. You got your brother in the kitchen, cooking lunch already because it's 9 o'clock and lunch orders
Right.
getting ready to go. When are you doing it? When are you doing it? It's been a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And now it's not until like either your wife's yelling at you or something happens and it's like, I really got to get this done. Yeah, you can. Just call us.
Make the call.
Make the call. We'll get
Make
it
the
done.
call.
It's done and over with. What's easier? It getting done or you hearing about it that you have to get it done?
Exactly. Good point. All right.
Consider it done.
Absolutely. No, good job. Make the call. All right, listeners, hope you guys are taking a lot of notes. A lot of good information here. Definitely check out TechRescue LLC .io, not techrescue.com. .io. Perfect. And yeah, check them out. Share this episode with your family, friends, colleagues. Share it with your aging parents. Share it with anybody you know that has a small business. They can't afford their own tech support group, because this is a good answer for them too. Share it with everybody. Make sure you leave some likes and comments because we need those, and stick around because there's always more coming. That's it for me, Coach Harlan saying so long for now.